Hello everyone and welcome back to Deansbury Town. Before we get started, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone for watching the videos so far and for the kind feedback. It really keeps me motivated to make more videos. I am fast approaching 500 subs, so this video could be enough to get to that milestone. So if you do like what you see, please subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of any new content. So let's get on with today's video. In my last video I showed how I made this chimney for Deansbury Works. This time I'm going to fit ladders and scaffolding with a little help from Fred Dibnah, who later on helps me explain the methods used. The works first came to Deansbury in the mid-1800s during the Industrial Revolution, and the chimney has been working hard for over 100 years. Lately it has started to show its age and is in need of repair. The works manager has called on the services of a young steeplejack from Bolton by the name of Fred Dibnah. Some of you may be familiar with his work and his TV shows. Fortunately for us, the BBC documented the process and we can now enjoy the video in this previously unseen footage from Fred's early career. First up, we take a closer look at a couple of the problems the chimney has before we join Fred. One of the main problems is cracks in the pointing, which has led to water damage. This is represented here by the use of white weathering powder applied along horizontal brick courses at various points on the chimney. I gradually build up the layers using downward strokes to recreate the effect of water and weather on the brickwork. Some of these cracks are around the coping stones at the top of the chimney, so Fred will need to get some scaffolding up to carry out these repairs. We also get a lot of soot damage on the coping stones, so Fred will need to take a closer look at that to check if any are loose. A generous application of soot coloured weathering powder here helps to create this effect. The base of the chimney is also in need of a bit of attention and some moisture damage has built up here. A muddy ground colour was applied around the base of the chimney where the rainwater splashes up the walls. Once the weathering was complete, the chimney was glued to the base using PVA glue. As well as the general wear and tear over time, some more serious damage occurred to some of the brickwork. Unfortunately, this occurred when the BBC film crew were out having lunch, but local reports suggested that someone managed to get superglue on the end of their finger and stick it to the chimney, and after a few unsuccessful attempts with a scalpel had to pull it off, damaging the brickwork in the process. We do, however, have this little bit of footage of some of the repair work taking place. To start with, the damaged brick is carefully removed and the edges squared off with the brick joints. A patch repair is then cut from a sheet of matching brick and trimmed to the correct size. Normally this is done with a bolster chisel, but in this case a scalpel was used. Paint is then mixed to match the bricks and applied to both the damaged area and the edge of the patch to hide the white edges before a patch is glued on with PVA. All of the repairs have been fully approved by Fred. Moving on now to the preparation work with a selection of the traditional materials used. These include scale model scenery wooden scaffolding planks, kit LX098-00, scale model scenery wooden ladders, kit LX108-00, some thin metal rodding, and a few track pins, both the thick and the thin type. Next up are the ladders. Firstly, they were cut from the sprue using a sharp knife so I could paint the sides. I was aiming for around 15 feet for each ladder based on some photographs I'd found, so I used the longest ones here and cut them into two parts. For the painting, I used a Vallejo Model Air Red, which according to Fred is a good enough match to his ladders. Although this paint is thin for airbrushing, it did give good coverage here and only a single coat was needed. Once dry, a black wash was again applied all over. With the paint dry, the ladders were trimmed to length and the ends touched up. The packing pieces here are made from spare rungs from the ladders.
Keeps the ladder off the wall with the chimney so there's room for your boots that go through, you know.
Although Fred prefers to attach these to the ladders with string, I opted for super glue as mine are 76 times smaller and therefore a little bit fiddly. Here is the ladder with the packing pieces now attached. Now traditionally the ladders are attached to the chimney using rope tied to iron pegs drilled into the wall using the following method.
Here you see the first ladder is in position, and I'm about to tie it onto the bottom dog or the bottom holdfast, which you know, that's where the beer belly comes in handy. It's sort of round the hook, round the side of the cheek of the ladder, under the rung, round the hook, round the other cheek of the ladder, round the rung, and then back round the rung below, and a 12-inch on, and that's got it fast. It will not come off.
However, again, for reasons of practicality and sanity, I went for super glue. And here is the first ladder now in position. The remaining ladders are attached in the same manner, with a few rungs overlapping the ladder beneath to represent the hooks fitted to the real ladders. Slowly making my way up the chimney, tried to keep the ladders as straight as possible as they went up, so they were vertical. Unfortunately, I did veer off slightly, but as I'd used super glue and not string, I couldn't adjust the ladders. Another set of ladders was attached to the other face of the chimney to enable the scaffolding to be constructed. Although this chimney is only a scale 65 feet tall, it still looks a long way down, and I can certainly feel the wind blowing from up here. Scaffolding planks were prepared using a couple of coats of outdoor wood wash, which is a few drops of black, white and burnt umber acrylic paint, diluted down with water and a few drops of IPA. I picked this up from Marlin of Sweden's YouTube channel, and I use it on most of my outdoor wood. Once this is dry, a couple of coats of black wash are applied to create the dirty, well-used effect. To make the scaffolding, I followed the same method that Fred used, but some of the jobs are in a slightly different order to suit the model build. For the main supporting battens, the first planks to be attached, are pre-drilled holes for the steel rods that come later before attaching them to the chimney.
Timber with, you know, Donald at the bottom supporting its weight, and I guide it behind the ladder until I've got it going across here, like so.
I used a small blob of PVA glue through the ladder to attach the batten, as I wanted to have a few minutes in which I could make small adjustments as I fitted the braces next to get everything level. Again, the braces were pre-drilled to accept the pins.
This batten has a series of holes drilled in it, and I then proceed to bolt one on there and one over there, like so. And then I'll lower myself down on my bosun's chair and mark a suitable joint at the bottom and knock a pin through there and a pin through there. So I've then got that like all braced up quite solid. When that's been done on both sides of the chimney, the next thing to come up is two long steel rods which I use to connect both of these battens together.
Threading this steel rod through the hole in the other batten was hard enough doing it at my workbench, so I can only imagine how hard it must have been swinging around 200 feet above the ground in the wind.
Then you put the washers and the nuts on, or a few packing pieces, so you can slightly cramp them up round the chimney.
A couple of dobs of super glue secures the rods in place, as there's no way I was going to attempt this using bolts. I did, however, use the thin track pins to represent the smaller bolts on the timber joints.
Mark a suitable joint at the bottom and knock a pin through there and a pin through there. So I've then got that like all braced up quite solid.
And the larger pins to represent the iron dogs holding the main batten in place.
put one of these dogs or pins in the hole on the left hand side of the ladder. Then after we've got the two battens on and bolted together, the next stage of the game is planks, which form like the platform that you walk on.
These platform planks were then lifted into position, 2 on each end of the batten secured with PVA glue. I managed to keep a steady hand doing this despite swinging around in the breeze on my bosun's chair. Two further planks are then fitted to connect the two sides together to form the full platform around the chimney.
When we've got all the big planks in position, on a large diameter chimney there's a great gap in the corner, so we've got 4 boards called corner boards that fit across the corners, you see, like so, which like stops you falling through the hole in the corner.
These corner boards, shorter versions of the main planks, were then added to each of the 4 corners.
Once you've got the first staging up or the first deck up, you know, there's firm basis for going higher up, then you chisel the holes for the next staging, and you know, you can work quite comfortably as though you were on the ground.
Now, no chimney would be complete without a model of Fred himself, so I spent quite a lot of time searching and found this model from Fine Scale Model Figures, which I think will do the job just right. I cut away most of the sprue to allow for painting, leaving a couple in place just to hold on to. A few passes with a sanding stick tidied things up. Firstly, the face and hands were painted with a Vallejo dark flesh colour and using a very fine 000 brush. I chose a dark grey-blue mix for Fred's clothes and black for his boots. Most of the time he and his clothes were absolutely filthy, so I applied 2 generous coats of black wash to tie it all together and give the dirty appearance required. I then tried to glue Fred to the ladders, but in true style I found I didn't need to, and his vice-like grip was more than enough to hold him on. As he said on many occasions, you only fall off once. I'll leave you with the question, did you like that? If so, please do leave a thumbs up and a comment below. Thanks for watching, bye for now.